Welcome to the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video, where better sleep starts with better understanding. We all know that opiates can be incredibly effective when it comes to managing pain. But what if the very thing that brings us relief is also quietly taking away something that's just as crucial for healing? Today, we're diving deep into that complex and honestly pretty hidden relationship between opiates, the pain they're meant to treat, and the sleep that we all so desperately need. So why is this such a big deal? Well, let's just start with this number, 116 million. That's how many adults in the United States, according to the Institute of Medicine, are living with chronic pain. That is an absolutely staggering figure. It's a massive public health challenge that touches tens of millions of lives, day in and day out. And this leads us right to the central paradox we're going to unpack. Opiates are often the first line of defense against all this suffering. But what if these powerful drugs are actually creating a whole new set of problems, especially when it comes to one of the body's most fundamental healing tools, sleep? Now, this isn't some simple good guy versus bad guy story. Opiates are a classic double-edged sword. They offer relief, absolutely, but they also carry some major risks that we're only now really starting to understand, particularly when you look at it through the lens of sleep medicine. Just to put that 116 million number into perspective for you, we're talking about nearly 40% of the entire U.S. population. Think about that. That's a higher prevalence than for many other major health conditions combined. This is the sheer scale of the problem that doctors are trying to solve every single day. And to fight this wave of pain, what did we do? Well, the use of opiates has absolutely skyrocketed. Over the past 2 decades, prescriptions for these drugs have shot up by 300%. And while the intention was to help, this huge increase has really set the stage for a crisis of unintended consequences. And one of the most misunderstood of those consequences is what opiates actually do to our sleep. I think a lot of people assume that the drowsiness you feel from these meds is a sign of good rest, but the research? It tells a totally different story. It's really just an illusion of rest. So here's the key idea. What opiates often cause isn't real sleep. It's a state called torpor. You can almost think of it like junk food for your brain. Yeah, it might fill you up, you might feel like you're resting, but you are not getting any of the deep, restorative nourishment that genuine sleep provides. It's just a state of blunted wakefulness, not healing slumber. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Listen to how the researchers Liddick and his team put it. They say all the outward signs, your eyes are closed, you're still, you're not mentally active, it all looks like sleep. And that's exactly why this state gets so easily mislabeled, not just by patients, but sometimes even by doctors. So let's break down the difference. Healthy, restorative sleep has this beautiful, complex architecture. It cycles through deep, non-REM sleep, and that crucial REM sleep. Well, opiates come in and just completely demolish that architecture. They shatter your sleep, they crank up the amount of useless light sleep, and they crush the deep and REM stages that your body actually needs to heal itself. And this isn't just a theory. It's backed up by hard data from sleep studies. You can see it right here with some really common opiates like morphine, methadone, and remifentanil. The pattern is just undeniable. The data from sleep labs consistently shows they turn up the light sleep while turning way, way down the most important restorative stages of sleep. Okay, and this is where the whole paradox gets truly dangerous. By wrecking the very sleep that's essential for healing, opiates can accidentally trap patients in this vicious cycle that actually makes their pain even worse over time. There's a scientific term for this. It's called hyperalgesia. It's basically a state where your body's sensitivity to pain gets amplified. It's like someone turned the volume knob on every single pain signal all the way up. And one of the known triggers for this? You guessed it, not getting enough restorative sleep. And here's what that feedback loop looks like in real life. Okay, so a patient takes opiates for pain. Step 2, the drug wrecks their sleep quality. Step 3, that lack of good sleep makes them more sensitive to pain. So what happens next? Step 4, they feel more pain, which then leads them to need higher and higher doses of the opiate, which, of course, just keeps the whole destructive cycle going. But the problems don't stop with just pain and poor sleep. We're now escalating to an even more immediate, life-threatening danger. And that's what opiates do to our breathing, especially when we're in that vulnerable, sleep-like state. The way it works is actually frighteningly simple. Opiates work on your central nervous system, and one of their big effects is to blunt the brain's automatic, life-sustaining drive to just breathe.
The best analogy is to think of it like a dimmer switch being slowly turned down on your body's own respiratory control center.
Now, here is the really critical part. Just regular, natural sleep on its own also reduces our drive to breathe a little bit. So when you combine the effect of an opiate with the natural state of sleep, well, the effects don't just add up, they can multiply. The two dimmer switches work together, and that can create this synergistic effect that can dangerously, sometimes fatally, suppress breathing. And it's so important to understand that this risk is not the same for everybody. For certain groups of patients, the danger of this respiratory depression is significantly higher, and it can turn what seems like a standard prescription into a potentially lethal threat. So let's look at some of the most vulnerable people. For obese patients, especially if they already have sleep apnea, opiates can make their airway collapse even more during sleep. For older patients, a slower metabolism means the drug hangs around in their system longer and at a higher concentration. For kids, their little organs are still developing and just can't clear the drug out efficiently. And for anyone with a history of substance abuse, tolerance often means they need higher doses for pain relief, which directly cranks up the respiratory risk. So, with all that said, where do we go from here? Well, just recognizing this paradox is the huge first step. The next is this urgent, ongoing search by scientists and doctors to find a way to break this cycle and find safer ways to manage pain. And this is the ultimate goal, right? It's what some have called the holy grail of pharmacology, finding a drug that can give powerful, effective pain relief without messing up your sleep and without dangerously suppressing your breathing. It's really a quest to get all of the benefit with none of the life-threatening risk. But the answer isn't just about inventing some magic new pill. The source material for this is really clear. The path forward has to involve much better teamwork between the two fields on the front lines here, pain medicine and sleep medicine. A more integrated, holistic approach to patient care is absolutely essential. And so, that leaves us with the big question that's driving all this research. How do we solve this paradox? How can we give patients the pain relief they so clearly deserve while also protecting the restorative, healing sleep that is just as vital for their recovery? Finding the answer to that is, without a doubt, one of the most urgent challenges in modern medicine today. Thank you for watching the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video. We hope you sleep well and dream easy.